Before we jump into it, once again, my code ESPRESSO is 30% off over at gfuel.com. If you need a restock, want to check out any flavors, whatever it is, head over to the link in the description down below to get 30% off your entire order. But back to the regular scheduled content.
Yeah, he's on loadout.
I have no eyes on this, so. What skin was that?
That was.
You just go for them. I mean, double white's probably a lost cause.
Yo, speaking of 10K, we are coming up on that actually, but.
You shooting? Okay.
Okay. Vehicle rolling up on us.
Anybody got C4?
Yep, I do.
No, I don't.
Nor do I. Jordan does.
Sorry, bud.
Did you have armor? He had nothing. Okay, in the field over here. 1, 2. Going for the guy in the back.
Okay.
I don't have any AR. Broke his armor though.
Down him.
Knocked one front, knocked the front.
And you guys got AR to drop?
You follow me up. Two banks.
Coming with you.
Snipes.
Got a
Snipes
snipe
looking at me. Yep. No, he's on rock right here.
Good ping, good ping. I don't see him.
Holy
There's another back there too.
Beamed me, dog. Woo!
You guys get both of them there?
Right on the hill, right here.
Good ping.
It was moving left in.
Down
Flashed
him.
him. Nice.
There's another guy lower.
Finished him?
Another guy lower.
Finished him.
Yeah, he's getting team shotted.
By third party?
I think that was a finisher that I got on that guy. So yeah, left side to you, Lazy.
Yeah, I'm dead.
On your hard ping?
Yes.
I got him. What the heck was that guy doing? Inspecting the fauna?
Down another.
Ping.
Oh,
To left, to left.
Yep.
Left side is one-shot armor. I am safe for res. I am in a bush.
I'm trying to run my way up.
Got him, Elam.
They have
Right below us. Oh my God. Hey, what's up, dude? Literally right
Hey,
below
hi.
us.
How you doing?
He clustered right on top of himself. Lazy. You sit. Thank you. I was like, you gonna get him?
Sniper in the far back somewhere.
Clustered them. Can I get you here?
Down one.
Yeah, you should be. I should be okay.
It's not resing me.
That was weird.
Farther right here.
That guy's down.
Watch the sniper that's gonna be back to our right here.
Not gonna lie, I was entering the planning of this video and I was like, let's do some live clips here at this. And then I realized, well, dang it. I need to stream a little bit more to get gameplays that don't involve music in the background. So rookie mistake there, Jordan. Rookie mistakes. But anyways, if you've played Warzone, you've probably gone up against or played with the Grau. That's just a simple fact of Warzone, especially given that it's some meta weapon of choice right now with the M4A1, MP5, and MP7 and the likes. So if you're using the Grau, are you using it to the best of your ability and also the weapon's ability? Lately, I've been playing a lot of Warzone, going for more kills, improving my game-over-game performance, dropping things like the sniper, and going a little bit more aggressive, meaning that I'll be running overkill of a rifle and an SMG, and I think that I've found my new favorite build overall for Warzone as a whole. And I wanted to share that with you today in case, well, there's any weapon adjustments with Season 4. That way I can use it now before there may be any adjustments, but even if there isn't any, so that you can just simply dominate Verdansk. That said, let me know your thoughts down below. Is there any weapon that you'd like to see an optimal build for later on down the line if we continue this? Or also, are you cool with some live clips and some content here and there? I'm entirely open to both those, but wanted to start with just a loadout I've been loving lately. So that also said, if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe to stay up to date with all things Modern Warfare and Warzone content on a daily basis, especially as we're rounding into Season 4. But let's talk about this loadout. So like we said, we run overkill of the Grau and also then an MP5, something that gives me long range with the Grau the way we have it set up, and also something that can be a breach and clear weapon like the MP5, especially the way we kit that one out. So for the Grau, let's start out with this one. Of course, we always run the monolithic suppressor. If you're not, you're missing out. You're hindering your own gameplay. I end up running the Tempest 26.4 Archangel barrel, the Commando 4 grip, the 50 round magazine, and the Cronin Sniper Elite grip on this. Now, to give an in-depth breakdown of each of these attachments and why I choose them, the monolithic suppressor is kind of a no-brainer here. Again, keeps you off that radar sound suppression, but also adds damage range, and you end up sacrificing a little bit in that aim down sight speed and aiming walking steadiness, but that's kind of a necessary evil at that point. The Tempest 26.4 Archangel barrel, though, is one that you're met with your probably first choice of this loadout and build. The Tempest 26.4-inch Archangel barrel offers damage range, bullet velocity, and recoil control at the slight sacrifice of aim down sight speed and movement speed. But if you compare that with another barrel of the FSS 20.8 Nexus barrel, you'll actually notice that they have the same pros and cons when you look at them. But when you break that down into visible statistics and the changes here that go along with it, the Archangel ends up being 3 frames slower in the ADS speed, which if my math is correct, it's 48 milliseconds, and the difference in movement speed is minimal. So when it comes down to it, you're really only looking at the pros and maybe even that iron sight. Both barrels boast the additional weight being able to stabilize shots, but if you compare the two, the Archangel has just a slightly tighter spread on that recoil as opposed to the Nexus. So for that reasoning, given their damage range and bullet velocity, I tend to go a little bit more towards that Archangel just because it's a little bit easier to control that recoil on a natural perspective. Though we do kit it out with other attachments you'll see here that do combat recoil and make that a little bit less of a selling point, but if you really want to kit it out for recoil control, every little bit helps. Next, we were on the Commando foregrip, which boasts recoil stabilization and aiming stability at the slight cost of movement speed. Now, here's the thing. Another grip that a lot of players will use is that Merc foregrip, which does, as stated, help with the recoil control. Now, when you take a look at those and compare those two that are probably the most popular out of the two grips for that stabilization, you will see that that Merc foregrip has a slightly tighter spread whenever you shoot the weapon at its natural recoil pattern. But the reasoning that I like to take the Commando over that Merc foregrip is because you get a little bit faster of an ADS with the Commando. You sacrifice a little bit in that movement speed, but to me, a few frames of movement is a lot less of a disadvantage than that of in getting your weapon up. When you take a look at the two and compare them, it's very similar to the outcome of the Tempest Archangel versus that Nexus barrel as well. It's 3 frames of difference, favoring that of the Commando foregrip, making this the better attachment to choose if you're looking for ADS speed. Next, I run that magazine of the 50-round mags, though again, if you want to use 60, absolutely go for it. When testing, seriously, the differences between the two in that aim down sight speed and movement speed is almost non-consequential, with the differences between the two coming down to maybe 1 frame in that ADS difference, and then also in the movement speed, about 3 to 4 frames max. But then finally rounding out this build that we have here with this, I run the Cronin Sniper Elite, and this adds aiming stability and aim walking steadiness at the sacrifice of aim walking movement speed. Now, I do this in place of what normally would be a stippled grip tape, because if you want to make the Grau an absolute laser, this helps tremendously. Unless you're comparing the two side by side, to which you can end up seeing that aiming stability in action, where it is a little bit tighter of a idle sway, and then also while moving, it doesn't sway as much either. You might not notice it a whole lot, but when you put this into some combat action, you will definitely notice that this thing is brilliant in what it does. But overall, when you set up this class loadout, you end up making something that has a decent ADS speed, something that doesn't hinder your mobility all that much, and then also something that is incredibly easy for that recoil. The Grau already is something that can beam over a distance, and then when you add this in to the point where you basically have a laser shooter, the only thing that you as a user will have to do is a slight pull down on that left thumbstick, but you don't have to compensate by going in any direction. You can just pull straight down and just very slightly. So if you do all of that with this loadout, you literally have something that shoots straight as an arrow and does damage very well over time. Though that's our sort of mid-range to long range if you want to take it at that, but what about our close quarters engagements? That's where the MP5 comes into play. For this, I end up running the monolithic integral suppressor barrel, the tack laser, the Merc foregrip, the 45-round magazine, and then the stippled grip tape. Now, this one we tried to kit out so that we have something that can breach and clear, something we can get our weapon up as fast as possible, and something that can do damage even at slightly mid-range, even if it might not be an SMG's sort of forte. For this, though, the monolithic integral suppressor, we end up running the sound suppression and the bullet velocity, and it slightly sacrifices aim down sight speed. But here's the thing, the monolithic integral suppressor barrel has better range, bullet velocity, and no reduction to walking steadiness as opposed to the monolithic suppressor muzzle attachment. So this is something that you definitely want to favor using the barrel that's the integrated monolithic suppressor as opposed to just slapping it on the end of one. Then the tack laser is something that adds aim down sight speed, aiming stability, aiming walking steadiness, all with just that slight sacrifice of the laser being visible to enemies. But the part that is nice and that you may not necessarily consider is that that laser is only visible to enemies whenever you're aiming down sight. So it doesn't necessarily give it away all the time, and is something that if you're crouch walking to flank, it won't give away your position. So that's something definitely to take into consideration, and is something that really helps the overall mobility of the weapon and getting that gun up. The Merc foregrip is something that, again, like what we talked about here with the Grau, it is kind of preference, but for this, because I do have the option to hip fire more, and it's going to be something that I take closer quarters, that hip fire accuracy that the Merc foregrip affords is something that I want to take in place of the Commando. And again, it only slightly sacrifices aim, walking movement speed, and ADS speed. Then for this, we end up running the 45 round magazine to max out that ammo capacity for, again, only a slight penalty in terms of that aim down sight speed and movement speed. Though for this, while I've advocated for in the past that 10mm magazine ammo conversion, I do find the 45 round magazine better than the 10mm for the majority of engagements that I'll take in Warzone, or at least where I'll use it with the MP5. That 10mm adds damage range in that flourishes a little bit at a distance, but when you consider that I'm using this as a close quarters weapon and something to breach and clear, I want something that will give me more ammo that I can use against armor and maybe multiple enemies. So for that, the distance play will leave to the Grau. Then finally, the stippled grip tape is something that helps with that aim down sight speed and the sprint to fire speed with the MP5, which again, if you get caught running, if you have to bust through a door and there may be somebody a little bit closer than you maybe anticipate, that's something that helps out greatly. So all in all, whenever you take this, you get a weapon that fires brilliantly at a distance, something that can be a bullet hose, but also do a ton of damage, plus has an incredibly easy to manage recoil pattern, and is something you can shoot straight as an arrow, plus you have that ability to push in with something of a much closer engagement weapon of the MP5. So overall, this thing has become my go-to aggressive playstyle loadout here with this, and we finish it off by using cold-blooded to stay off thermal and anything like that. EOD I've been flirting around with a little bit just because explosives in Warzone are incredibly powerful, borderline overpowered, depending on what engagements you end up encountering them with. Then we, of course, have Overkill that lets us even have the ground, the MP5 in the first place. And then I've run Tracker just because if you're in a close quarter situation and you need to know where a player dipped in so that they don't necessarily just sit in a corner and ambush you, you can see where those footsteps lead up to. And then, of course, C4 is the explosive choice because it's incredibly powerful, and a heartbeat sensor that early game is incredibly useful, but then even late game can still be something that helps secure a kill or two. But overall, that is the loadout here that I've been running with, and I absolutely love it. I've been continually pushing the boundaries for my own personal best games, and then also just game over game have been improving in terms of just consistency. So I've been having a lot of fun here with this and wanted to share it with you guys, but that's it. That's where we're going to wrap it up. Love to get your thoughts and feedback down there in the comment section down below. If you guys want to see me play this stuff live and get some footage here, we are trying to build up that audience and consistency over on Twitch. So if you guys want to check that out, that link will be down there in the description below. May or may not be streaming by the time this video goes live tonight, and not entirely sure if we'll get around to it, but the option will be there, and we'll be doing a lot more in the future here. So let me know your thoughts, drop a like on the video, follow over on Twitch, and if you guys are new, of course, do be sure to hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with all things Modern Warfare as we round into Season 4. But other than that, Twitter and Instagram are the best places to get connected outside of YouTube. Practically live on both those. If you guys want to check up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. That's it. Thanks so much for watching. My Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.